What about the children? What about the children? Whoa, whoa. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I believe what I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. Because the greatest love of all is inside of me. I think I might have mixed those two songs together. Yeah, this is the greatest longing. I don't know. But the song was in my head because this is about the children. This is What About the Children special. This is going to be special. We're going to get to know each other a little bit more. So all this talk about broken children and adults making the children responsible, and how as a society, it's the village that raises the child. And as a society, as adults, society and those mentors that are placed in society act as if they're the parental figures. So it takes a village to raise a child. Good day, Adonis. Much love to you and yours. I hope that you can hear me. Okay, we're going to be talking about the children today. What about the children? You know, when you mention the children, some of the conscious community or they'll say things like, save yourself, you know. Some people don't plan on being on the planet long. They want the whole thing just, because the flesh is a trap and all that jazz. They would much rather invest in dismantling everything in hopes that the whole thing just disappears and no real work has to be done. In the meantime, there's babies born every day, and there's elders that die every day. Isn't that something? What a recycling bin. So what about the children? We came out of a child, and that child had influences from its mother. And its mother was influenced by society. It's a big revolving door. And that's why the fractality, the enmeshment, the immersion is very important for us to realize here. There's no escaping it. A person that says they don't care about the children is the same same mother effer who doesn't care about anybody, really. How can you not care about one of the most innocent, impressionable beings on the planet? So anyway, lots of us are those broken children who come from those torn arrangements. And we walked into the conscious community trying to understand one aspect or another of what the blip was going on. Either just to try to understand it and get some peace, or even to put in our work to attack the system, not just to dismantle it, but to be the wounded healer and to actually build. So that if we have to come back in here to the matrix, or what's left in the matrix, the children, the youth, that the connection to us as elders is one they can be fond of, seeing how they come from us. The brokenness that a child feels when they're disconnected from their parent is the same brokenness that an adult feels when they're severed from society. It's the same child that never healed, that grows up to be the person that's hurt, that hurts other people because they have unaddressed issues. And they will overcompensate in order to hold themselves together. But they're holding themselves together within that fractal, in that space of that broken child, because it was never mended, it was never addressed. There's a lot of hostility in the community. So the child that's still in there, if you're conscious, you know you have a child in there, just like you have an adult in there, just like you have a higher self in there and a lower self in there. There's a funny you, there's a wise you, there's a serious you. There's a don't mess with me you. There's a I'm so sensitive, don't touch me you. There's the bring it on you. You're not just, you're one you that carries many different facets of who you are. And in realizing that, we gather our wholeness, our health, our mental health. When you take a child and you break that, you end up in a lot of areas. So we're talking about spiritual energy. So I was one of those children, I already shared with you, an incest survivor. Then I was touched some more as a child. And I stood up for myself. And I got ostracized for it. As I got older, I was pretty warped, angry, messed up in the head because of the severment. And I also fell into the hands of the government and the wacky stuff that they're doing right in our faces that we don't realize that they're doing, which is mind controlling people, programming people, policing people. And I didn't know what was happening to me. And there's a lot of secret, crappy stuff going on in the world. There's nobody else on my live but Adonis. I certainly hope I can hear myself this time. So, there are a lot of broken children. I just happen to be one that made it out and survived. I'm an elder now, 52. Going on 103. So, now I've always been strange and I didn't know that I had gifts. I remember telling you that already plenty of times. I didn't know, like I used to see things, and like one of my first poems was, every time I turn around, I see devils come out the ground. And I actually did see devils come out the ground. And I wrote a poem about it, and I was about 7 or 8. so I could see things. As I got older, I realized that I was seeing things that other people weren't seeing, and I could see like see-through people over top of the world we're in now, like people just moving around, like there's a world right over top of this one, and there's people moving around and talking. It was weird. It was like watching a dream with no color, with just like people, bubble people, clear that you can see through, like a stencil. Very strange. So I'm in the hospital trying to figure this out. Now they've already figured it out. They have my social security number, my birth date, and all that kind of stuff. So they know the traits and abilities, but I don't. I'm a whistleblower already because I already blew a hole in the situation that happened with my father because he was a pedophile. So I'm sitting there and they're asking me the nature of my hallucinations, you know. So I thought that's what they were because I'm trusting the parental. I'm trusting the establishment that's supposed to help raise the child. There's nobody else there. So you tell me that it's not right and it's a hallucination, and this child listened. So they just pumped me up full of more medications and stuff. So I was always able to see different stuff than other people, to hear things. And I was told that that was a trait of insanity. Your brain goes inside out, backwards, and upside down when you get older and you study and you realize that the insanity is them, is the establishment. And it was never you. So with all the frustration that I went through as a child, being estranged, not having support, being sexually tampered with over and over again, there was all the feelings and emotions that I had to deal with as a teenager, as a young adult, all the work that I had to do to be able to get to the space where I am now, to dislodge, to even to want to have the will not to just strike back and get vengeance and release the pain by giving pain. Because somebody hits you, you just want to hit back because that's all you know. You're not taught to absorb that blow. Change the energy. Analyze it and then dissipate it, because hurt people, and you're not really in that intellectual space. You just want the pain to be gone. So what I'm getting at is, I'm not special. There are thousands and thousands of children who have been hurt in various ways. And like, as a society, we just wipe our behinds with them. And it's like, okay, whatever. Like buying the meat at the market. Oh, well, it's just the fate of that animal. It is what it is. And we don't think about what that creature has been through. We use things. This is the society where we throw things away. We use things a couple of times, and if it don't look like the way that we want to present it, then it gets thrown away and tossed out. And that's the way we do people too. So all this energy, what I'm getting at, is still there, because energy only transforms. It doesn't just disappear. The energy of those children is still here. And there's a truth in that. How many children were sacrificed to rituals? How many children were killed because some nasty person had some sexual demonic idea for them and didn't want them to speak anymore about it? Not just the ones that got away and then had to deal with those demons their entire life, and the silence of, about what happened to them, or lack of support because of what happened to them. Because it doesn't end with the incident. You carry it through the rest of your life, that energy of being violated. I'm looking at your name, Adonis, and I'm just nodding my head thinking about some of our conversations that we've had in the past. You know, um, it happens to men too, not just women. There's a lot of sick women that have children that allow them to be hurt. So as I was growing up and getting to know myself, I made my own mistakes as a parent. I grew up and I had children, and then it was more apparent to me how hurt people can hurt people, how easy it is if you don't take care of your own issues. So I began to work harder at it. Still wasn't good enough for me with the place that I wanted to be in here. And there's just so much counterproductive messages and spiritual influences and just a lot of dark, nasty stuff that we don't realize we're carrying around with us. Also mentioning, didn't get a little weird here, but the cell towers influence us. The media influences us. And so we have a lot of depravity and a lot of corruption and a lot of sickness that we're feeding each other through the media. So we can come into contact with spiritually transmitted diseases sexually through transference and through interacting with each other and through the media and stuff. So all this is coming in, the messages you're getting from TV, the messages you're getting from society, the messages you got from when you were a child. And that stuff is real. It's not going anywhere, and it's here. If we're not aware of it, as a seed, the stuff starts to grow and takes root. Pretty soon you got a tree that you don't want. And so I was carrying all this stuff around in me. And I was in so much pain trying to figure out how to get rid of it. And I felt a deep guilt and shame. But it wasn't mine. It was cast upon me. There's a lot of shame cast upon these children. They didn't ask to be touched. They didn't ask to be violated. They didn't ask to be killed. They didn't ask to be used as somebody's property. Some children are just used for house cleaners, babysitters. Nobody cares about nurturing their mind and helping them to learn how to think for themselves, getting them prepared for the world. So what happened to me was I lost a child. Out of my mind, out there ripping and running, trying to run away from those feelings. And one night I was doing drugs and I was in some projects, in the hallway, copping some bull crap. because that's what my world was like, running from my inner child. But there was nowhere to run. So I'm standing there at the top of the stairs pregnant, and I had just bought whatever it was that I was going to go home and try to forget about the world with, when another girl came by in the same messed up state of mind in the same hallway doing the same stuff, and she was short on her money. And she was trying to take what I had, because I always seemed like I was a sweet little sucker. But as soon as you flipped on me, we was fighting. And you found out that it was a whole different story. And that surprised a lot of people. So when people got to know me, they were like, that one you don't mess with. That's Regina. She crazy. So I was known as the crazy girl. And I would flip on you. You wasn't going to get what you thought you was going to get from me. Hello, my name's Regina. I will whoop your motherfucking ass if you put your hands on me. I would much rather give you something to help you. Don't put your hands on me, because we've already been there and been violated. So that's deal breaker. Deal breaker. So I'm in the hallway with this big belly, full of rage, full of confusion, full of demons. I just want to escape. And she tried to rob me. We started fighting, and I fell down the freaking stairs. I fell down the stairs. Shortly after, I went into labor. There was a lady who lived across the street, and she was kind of nosy, but she was from church and somehow was an outcast and a sinner, always looking for salvation. And she's from the church. I let her into my life, and I allowed her to be nosy. I allowed her to show up, to pop up and say that she would be there to help me, give her little scriptures and stuff. I held on to that. I made that sacred. I listened to that lie. And she told me if I ever needed her, just to call. To have someone go knock on the door, and she would be there. And I went into labor, and she was called on, and she would not come. The ambulance was called. It took a while. This was in New Haven. Eventually they came. I was brought to the hospital, and my baby was born dead. That, things like that, you can't take back. I couldn't take back my lifestyle. I couldn't take back my pain that led to my lifestyle. And I couldn't bring back my child. And I already made so many mistakes. Like, you ever been in a place where you made so many freaking mistakes and you don't think that you're ever going to come out of it? Madness. Most of us just keep making the same mistakes over and over, and we accept it. It is what it is. This is just the way the world is. Hurt people, and we crap all over everything. The children, ourselves, the memories of our childhood. Everybody's evil, and there's nothing sacred, and that's the only way that we do what we can to get through this reality. And this reality is not even what we think it is. So now, in my heart, I'm feeling like a murderer. And I had to think of other decisions I made, like abortions that I had, because I was out there. There are so many things that I had to shift and change. I was pregnant with my first daughter. I'm going to get back there to my child that passed away. Like I said, this is a children's special. I was pregnant with my baby girl, Shalea, and uh, I didn't think I would be a good mother. So I gave her to her father to raise. And when a child is not with his mother, its real mother, and the mother didn't raise the child, they're wondering, like, what was wrong with me? It's a natural feeling. So anyway, even though I thought I did the right thing by letting this older man take care of his child with the woman that he was with, because I was just a sneaky link. He was already with someone, and I was one of those girls. Turn your back and your man's in my face and you got something I want. I don't know you. I'll take it, especially if I like him. And that's what I did. That's what we all did that were around each other in that space, because that's all we knew. That's how you got one up. That's how you got ahead. Everybody was using their bodies. Hardly anyone was using their minds. And the ones that were using their minds, when I look back now, they were the same ones that I was talking about. They had joined, allegiances with churches, schools, alumni, military, become nurses. They were mandated reporters. You got a little club there, you know what I'm saying? They all know that they're the eyes and ears of the social network. The other eyes and ears of the police and the government informing. So that was one. Then I did a whole bunch of work on myself, but I was still rocky. I still wasn't good enough, inside for me. AA, lots of therapy, NA. Oh, and finally, the work that I did stopped me. I didn't have to go in the hospital no more. I stopped ending up in their hands. In and out of the institutions, trusting them that there was something wrong with me, instead of I'm just one of those gals that can see spiritual energy. I'm empathic, telekinetic, and auditory. And it takes a lot to differentiate between what signals I want to come in and what belongs over there or put on a shelf or whatever. So it's like a big antenna. And that's the kind of child that I am, child of the Most High. But I didn't know at the time. They told me that I was crazy. So fast forward all those years, I did so much work on myself, and I got pregnant. I met my husband. We weren't married yet, but I got pregnant. We were living together. My baby, Kingina. And I was going to not have that child. And so I went to walk to go get me a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. And I ran into the coolest people standing in front of the abortion clinic. There was this old guy, I wish I remembered his name, and there was a nun. And I'd seen him out there before, and I'd had remorse for having an abortion before, a couple of them. We're being real right now. This is a children's special. And I felt that spiritual energy break me. I cried and I cried and I cried. But my tears can't bring back that child that I conceived and then acted like it was nothing. And that spiritual energy did not die. It stayed with me. And the repercussions of those decisions stayed with me. And here I was again. Talk about beat a dead horse. You know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes we're so freaking hard-headed. And with all the therapy and meetings and all that kind of stuff and church, I was going to church and all that kind of stuff. With all that, I still was thinking about not having this child because of the brokenness that I was feeling already. What am I going to do with a baby? You know what I'm saying? Because hurt people, and I was still trying to clean all that crap out of me. But I decided to have her because there were some people who were embodying this angelic spirit standing in front of the freaking abortion clinic at ground zero. And something in my heart just wanted to get them a coffee. And I stopped and looked at their posters and talked to them. And they showed me how the little fetus, little pictures of how the eyeball and all that kind of stuff is there at certain many weeks and all that kind of stuff. It really got me thinking about how they said to me that that's nothing in there until it gets to a certain 3 months down the road. And they were showing me that nothing is something right now. So I decided to take that something home and keep it. And I'm so glad I did. And then I had another one because I didn't want her to be by herself in the world like I felt. So I had Kalila. And they are 20 and 21 now. I learned so much from my children. I got so much healing from these young women, from these little girls. But I couldn't have did it without doing all that freaking work that I did first. I couldn't have did it without admitting all these things to myself, that it was wrong, that I was hurt, that I was influenced, that I was confused, that I was out of my freaking mind. And that hurt people, and I wanted to be the wounded healer. If I had to be anything at all and I didn't have a choice on whether I was hurt or not, so where do you go with that? I stopped BSing myself and I started to do the work. And I shared all my tender parts with my children. And that child that I was that didn't get the love that she needed, I fed her all that love through my daughters and any child that came into contact with me. My husband had children before I had mine. I took care of for over 2 years. And I tutored them, I mentored them, I got their grades up. It was the best experience in my life to be able to help those children. When their school said that they were doing better with their grades, I got some self-esteem. And it wasn't about my ass. It wasn't about my lips and my thighs and my eyes. It was educational. I gave something real and substantial to somebody's children. And I can still hold that in my heart. Outshines any effed up stuff that I ever did. What about the children? Well, I do my best to make sure that the children that come into contact with me get my best treatment. I make sure that when I see adults, that I'm also seeing that they were once children. And although that we're adults, there's still a child in there that can always be addressed, mentored, nurtured. So that was my opportunity to make up for when my child died, because I got in a fight in that hallway that wicked freaking night. And I named that child Angel Blue. We're backwards now in that hallway where I was acting like a doggone fool and I was lost. I didn't have to fight that girl for that. I could have just, it's like anything. If somebody, you're walking down the street and somebody tries to rob you, you can give them the wallet or you could fight for it. Which one is more important? Your life or the money? That drug was so important to me in order to forget all this pain. So I know that we're dealing with a mass amount of pain, and that pain is reflected within our community. Because energy never dies, it only transforms itself. So yeah, you grown, doing grown stuff, but you're still carrying around a baby, your own self, with you that needs to be addressed. So I named her Angel Blue. I'm hoping that we can hear this. I hate the fact that all my devices have a sound issue because I'm being gang stalked. And so they do this cyber stalking. And anytime I go live, they're either cutting off my internet or messing with the sound. And, you know, it's just ridiculous. That's the government and their little minions. So Angel Blue stayed with me. That whole situation stayed with me as I started coming into who I really am. And I had dreams and visions. And yeah, I cried out. I cry out, I cry out, I cry out to get this stuff out of me, to recognize my vulnerability and my connection with the rest of the world around me, to my connection about insignificant this flesh can be until I connect it with a higher source, a greater source of energy. And with all the stupid decisions that one can make in their life, thinking that they're intelligent, I need to plug into a higher source. That's me. I need and want and enjoy my higher power. If I'm my higher power, you're in trouble. There needs to be something greater that can be more expansive and go beyond this flesh and the comprehension that we have for this realm. So that's what I was tapping into. That's what I've learned to tap into. And Angel Blue was kind of the start for that. So there was a space where I was like, how do I talk about this pain? How do I communicate all this? You're talking about your vortex communication. They would call it throat chakra. But it's an energy vortex attached to it. It's an organ that has a spiritual energy. And somehow, there's times in my life I couldn't speak. And they gave me the book, I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings. There are times in my life I was so confused and bogged down by the things that happened to me in my life. I could not make a full sentence. Have you ever been there? Have you ever come back from that? What about the children? I was one of those children they were trying to get to kill herself. One time I actually did. I was, there's plenty of times I tried to commit suicide as a child. Uh, well, one time I took aspirin. I didn't die. I was sent to school. I thought I maybe did something wrong. I took more. I didn't know who I was. Another time, messing around with that stuff. We used to make these cocktails where you mix stuff together, dope and the coke. I'm talking about hardcore drug user, mainlining. They called it a kamikaze or white ghost, or I don't know what the heck we used to call it back then. It was many years ago. Make fun of people who have the veins in their arms. You could tell what they used to do. I don't know how the Most High healed me, but I was so bad trying to escape. And I have very small rolling veins. And I was all over the place. You could tell at that time of my life. So I didn't know. Where was I? So the child, anyway, helped me. That child, Angel Blue, helped me and came to me. Helps me speak. Energy never dies, it only transforms. And, there's a part of me that is like, so it's just a way for me to mentally deal with the repercussions of my actions, right? To fantasize about the child, Angel Blue, being still with me and helping me to communicate. But it's more than just a vision and just a dream. It's real because I'm able to tap into these different energies. So I started to realize that my child was helping me. Tells me all the time how she loves me, how she forgives me, how it wasn't my fault. I was under mind control. Like a little ghost in a machine, helping me identify and anchor into my own spiritual energies that they tried to disconnect. And then there's the space where you have to be careful because there's other energies that will take advantage of those spaces that hurt and those spaces that are damaged. So I balance it with the rainbow from my grandmother, the four-way. And there's tools that I was given from my ancestors that allows me to make a certain visual that connects, that shields me from the demonic energy, allows me to line up and tap into them speaking to me. It's like almost like I paid it forward, all the pain that I went through and suffering and mind control. It's almost like it was paid forward so that I could have the ability to heal myself and others if they allow it. So as I was researching about children, abducted children, sexually abused children, children that the government stole, children that had been through child trafficking, I started to see a lot of similarities. And this energy helped me, blue light beam, this energy helped me to deal with the pain, the shame, the guilt, the rage, things that I could have never made it through the other side had I not tapped into my ancestral Akash. Had I not gotten so raw and bleedy and beat down from the demonic energy within the matrix, I would have never been able to anchor in again, because they had taken that from me and allowed me to think that I was damaged and severed and just a plaything when I was a child, and that no one would ever listen to me. And everyone would think I was liar and just some crazy chick for the rest of my life. What the heck would anyone want to be here for with that kind of thing? And you really can't plug in. And they had this gang stalking thing going on that I didn't really realize was happening. So I had been isolated. There's so many things that be going on while I'm talking to you that I don't even respond to, because it would just take us sever it and bring it to a whole nother situation. But as I was mentioning the gang stalking, there was a car slow cruising down the street, you know. So it's just weird stuff. Anyway, yeah. So this energy from that thing that grieved me, being able to make it through the other side, is actually something that helps me now. And as I tapped into the energy and the stories of the children who have been maimed and killed and violated, unheard, that rage, that pain, that there's a big ball of fire, y'all. They came to me, accessible through Angel Blue. She's definitely not playing with none of the people who deliberately, purposely are feasting on children. And where I feel like I'm not strong, I'm able to pull from the energy of that child. Or she pulls from me, I'm not sure anymore sometimes, to speak. A lot of stuff that I've spoken on in this so-called conscious community, I was led to speak on through dreams and visions and through my ancestors. And as a woman who'd been through a lot of stuff and felt like I was isolated and didn't have a lot of support, rather than just come and just like spew it out, I would go and make sure that it was real, that it was coming from source energy, from my ancestors, from this other place. And I would search for, what the heck is this vision that you gave me, holding this pole and doing this different stuff? I had to figure out what it is. And there's times when it would just come to me and come right in my path, where I was able to see source energy would show me what I was doing, or what it was trying to show me, what it was trying to teach me. I would get validation that this thing was real, that I was plugged into, from looking for the information. For many years, stuff that I was looking for was just not there. I was looking for bloodline stuff, about the bloodlines, the Uru, Draco, Naga, Sibyls. There was hardly any information about the Sibyls, and I had turned to Mama Wata's book, The Sibyls. I started to learn about our ancient bloodline. I started to learn that there's nothing wrong with me. There's everything right. I learned why they did what they did and why they're doing what they're doing as far as the gang stalking. And I got the support through the children. How special is that? But all that pain and shame and guilt and nowhere to go with it because I didn't want to just strike out and just continue to be a mess. There's this place where when you turn the page and you no longer want to be hurt people, that you get the crap beat out of you from those people who are still the hurt people crew. You get the crap beat out of you, boy. Woo! And it's like, what do you do not to become them? It's like the biggest war is just to handle yourself in your own energy and not to become what you don't want to be. And to steer your will into the place where you do want to be. And there's this weird space where you're steering your will into the place where you want to be. In here, but you haven't moved. You've moved in here. In here. You moved with the kind of things that you say, the kind of things that you do, but you haven't moved from the actual physical location of the matrix. You haven't moved past the people. You haven't moved from the address. But yet you moved. And I was crying out like, what the somebody tell me how to change this because nothing is changing. They wanted me to just, they wanted me to, so they could do like, what they're doing is I think that people who commit suicide, I mean, just like when we're born and they know about our social security numbers and they know about our traits and abilities, you commit suicide. If they get you to do that, I think it was Hell Ride was the movie. There was a scene in this movie where this demon, I've seen a few times in movies, where this demon waits for somebody to commit suicide because they're already in such turmoil. Right before they go and they slip over to the other side, we'll bring them back. He waits for a suicide and then right before he brings them back and they're crying like, no, leave me alone. Let me go. And he's like, oh, I'll let you go after you do a few things for me first. After you do a few things for me first. The video game that I'm seeing in the Matrix is to beat that ish. To be able to take all the freaking pain that they throw at you, all the dirt, all the hurt, all the confusion, and to actually become the wounded healer, to absorb that stuff and be able to change the energy. Not for ego's sake, just because you want to heal stuff. So I guess part of it is just my design. I was born wanting to fix stuff, taking clocks apart, putting them back together, trying to break into locks, figure out how things work, looking at people, just how does it work? Why does it work that way? What can we do with it now? And they want to take that away from us. By either gathering up these children, these souls that are born to us to fix issues, to eradicate situations, to make things whole, to bring us what we need, in our society. They're taking these precious souls, us, and corrupting them. Child pornography, child slavery, child abduction, mind control, and using them for Manchurian candidates later. Or even demonic energies to be able to attack others because they just want to leave and be out of pain. Like you're on fire. And to take that fire and put it in the fire. Whew. There's times when I feel like I'm actually burning. Beyond the menopause thing, y'all. I mean burning. Fusion. Burning until it turns cool. Burning till you feel like you're going to pass out and just your brain is just going to poop. I used to wonder how some people do this spontaneous combustion thing that happens with some people. That is real. It's like something is saying, you didn't get it. You are not able to transmute this energy. Sorry. There's some real things in here that are like a video game in the Matrix. And if you don't win that portion of the game, if you don't get that power up, like, they send you back through the chute. And it's not necessarily true that you might come back in the condition that you were in when you left. You might come back under worse conditions until you're able to neutralize some of the depravity. So these children that have been maimed and killed and hurt, who have passed away, in the research, I would see the children and some of the things that they do to children. Me being able to see this shouldn't be that difficult for you if you understand remote viewing. And just being able to use your spiritual sight to tap in. Like some things come to you. You don't really have to go get them. I would see these children being hurt and shamed and mutilated and terrified. And there's this energy there, I suppose, because of what I went through. And the love of a child. And the love of my ancestors, like my grandmothers are with me. I already explained that to you before. I've got the rainbow, the planets, and the rose. And that ain't it. These things came to me through research, meditation, and lots of fucking hard work. I was trying to understand where the pole came from, and it tied into Michael. I was trying to understand where the rainbow came from, and not only did it tie into my daughter, but that's Gabrielle, my grandmother, but that's Gabrielle. I was trying to make sense out of the great tree that is in my vision that reaches out for me with all these different leaf patterns on it. And it's alive. It's got the different branches and tree leaves and stuff are like projectiles. They can just reach out and kind of like caress you, touch you in different ways. These different leaf patterns and stuff from this grand tree, Adana. and the root work and just get nurturement from that tree, just like I can when I go outside and hug a tree that's present in this world. And I was thinking of Metatron, also Metatron, when I think about myself as a child in this world where there's a garden, and there's this beautiful garden and a lake, and surrounding this beautiful garden and a lake are these giant mirrors, like as tall as mountains. Like you're like this little tiny thing compared to these mirrors. They're so humongous, I can feel it. Just like I'm standing next to a gigantic structure that has me feeling like I'm microscopic. How that visual, or just the presence of the aura, the energetic thing that happens when you're next to something that is just so much bigger than you. And then he puts me in his little palm. And there's a rose. And I just sit there because he's got the whole world in his hands. I don't know if you can hear me. I just sit there in Metatron's palm because he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. You remember that song? All those things, those special things that I had, I've been over an hour now, as a child, are still there in that place. Grander and more special than ever, that I can tap into at any time I want. And they help me to keep going. They help me to help you. And the other day, yesterday, I was dancing on my grandpa's shoes, singing This Little Light of Mine. No, and say loan him $300. Good one. Well, if I was able to get a donation or two, I'd be able to help myself with something. Unfortunately, all I've got is self, Milton, and that's good enough. But when you get more than $300, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and donate to Siren Buddha Medicine at Regina's Rabbit Hole via YouTube at Life Coach 369A, because we can use that. So I'm sure you got to know me just a little bit more, a little bit more, not less. We are more, not less, baby. We more, literally. And that's what people who have more, tap into it. I'm not talking about this. All this can be turned into this. And that's why they be stealing all this. For years, I've been sitting here watching people jack a lot of stuff that I'm saying, and I know full well where it's coming from. If I decided to sit underneath the teacher, it's for them to help me elaborate further into the details of areas that I was sent there to sit there and to hover there for various different reasons. Some of y'all need a spanking, and Spirit is watching. The children are watching, and they love it when you say, who cares about the children? That's really funny. Yeah. So, we use visuals all the time to magnetize ourselves to things that we want to be. We fake it till we make it to get ourselves to do this and that to become who we want to be. But what if you just erased all that and just be who you freaking are and accentuated it on that? You would still be off the hook because you were working with what you actually are. And there's no detour there. So what about the children? Do they not matter? Well, according to what I told you, it could be the figment of my imagination. But if you're a part of the woke and conscious community, the whole tech community, the more community, not less, people that follow the occult systems and all that jazz, then you know full well that what I'm saying is very, very, very possible and real to tap into when you're not playing games and not pretending to be something that you're not. Is my meditation to ask them, are we done yet? Are we done yet? I can't wait to tell you more at another time about my interactions with these energies and how I incorporate them into my daily life and actually walk through my life with them, because I can't not do it because it's a part of me. And I'm tapped in, tap in, tap in, tap in. And that's one of the reasons why you see me be the way I am as far as communicating with people, is separating the energies and making things useful. You know what I'm saying? Like, how is our interaction useful? And even in the fun, it helps to lower the cortisone level. You know what I'm saying? It helps break up the stress and is a therapeutic tool, you know. And as your laughter facilitator, you know that I use that tool of humor and laughter. And the satar is also a part of the history. Pan in. All right, so I'm done. We're done. All right, one more thing. Uh, I guess I need to tell you that they want me to tell you. Have you ever met the children where they're just happy and you take them by the hand and they're just kind of skipping? You know? Um, well, one of the tools that I can use when demons, well, that they use it for me. I don't actually really use it. I just acknowledge that it's being used and that it's in me, is the children will surround me. One comes this way and one comes this way, and they make like this, uh, yeah, well, they make this thing and they swarm until it turns into a circle. And just like the rose, they form that sacred geometry pattern and do the swirl. And they're like, oh, hell no, not mama, not baby girl. I'm baby girl, Bambino, the big Bambino. And I ain't never growing up there because everything is always ahead of me. So I'll remain the baby in those other places and remain precious in those other places. And that's what helps me through the hard time when I'm taking the hard knocks from the mofos here at your service. And there ain't no beating it because they keep sacrificing. The children are laughing, sort of. They keep sacrificing. It's not funny. They keep sacrificing the children to stop the energies to work on their behalf. We are so full. We are so full. Either way, they weren't here very long to actually really miss anything like we would and vicariously live through situations that help rectify that. Some of them want to just tear stuff up and bring the hammer down. But other ones want to help their parents because they realize they were under mind control, just like Angel Blue helped me. There's a noise campaign. I don't know if you can hear that. There's people talking in a car playing loud music, and oh, there's a whole crowd near the bar outside. Let's take a look, shall we? Oh, they don't want to be in the bar. They want to be there. That bar is like Stalker Grand Central Station. Anyway, we're done. Much love to you and yours. This is Siren Buddha Medicine. Regina's Rabbit Hole. Ralph, this was odd. Yeah. What about the children? Special. Special! Is she special? Let's find out. Keep it coming.